Hi there. Happy Friday. And welcome to our marketing training this week where we are talking about the two reasons your website isn't working. So this assumes you have a website. Although maybe you're one of those folks that are, hopefully I'm coming through okay. Maybe you're one of those folks that is planning a website and planning to create one, but want to avoid some common challenges. This is going to be a really great training for you as well. If you can see and hear me okay, will you do me a favor and like this video or give me a little thumbs up in the comments? I lost Wi-Fi 4 days ago and it hasn't come back yet. So my lovely neighbors who live very close by have let me, awesome, seeing some likes. Okay, have let me use their Wi-Fi to work this week, which I'm very grateful for. I've been hotspotting off my phone. It's just been interesting. So looks like I'm coming through okay, which is wonderful. Really glad that you're here. If you are joining me live, please say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from. The beauty of you being here live is you get to ask questions. So as you follow along with these two reasons we're going to be talking about, the guidance I'm going to be offering, anything like that, please post any questions or thoughts there in the comments. I will make sure before I wrap up that I answer and address any of those. If you're catching the replay, that's a-okay. The nice thing about these trainings is they live on forever here in the group. So maybe you're catching it this evening, maybe it's a year from now, but will you drop a hashtag replay into the comments if you're catching the replay? That'll just make sure that this video will rise on up to the top of the group and I'll see any questions you yourself may have. So, all right, seeing some likes coming through. Okay, all right, so let's get into it. Well, actually, before we do that, we reached 7,000 members in this group, which is wild to me last week. So if you are one of those new folks and this is maybe the first time you're joining a training, hi, really happy you're here. We do these every once in a while, a couple times a month, where I can just really speak to some of the common challenges that I'm seeing in my clients and in the practices of the people that I serve, and to hopefully give you some really tangible things to walk away from. These are meant to equip you to actually start making some changes in your marketing and see some traction. So I'm Anna. I run this group. This is an amazing community. I'm really happy you're here. And now let's get into it. So the two reasons your website isn't working, like I mentioned, this is certainly a good fit if you have a website. But also a great fit if maybe you don't yet, but you're wanting to avoid some common kind of missteps and you can't really afford to maybe be making too many mistakes early on. So whether you are planning to create one or maybe you have one, you're in the right place. And I think this is going to be a really useful training for you. To make sure we're all really clear and operating from the same sort of place when it comes to marketing, let's just revisit why your website matters so much. Everyone tells you it matters, but everything I do here, and you'll notice this if you're new, I want you to understand why things happen and why you should or should not do things in your marketing so that you feel really empowered to make decisions. So rather than just, oh yeah, it's important, let's talk about why. More and more, and certainly even now more so than 10 years ago, your website is your virtual front door. Studies show us that people are visiting between 5 and 7 different therapy websites. So yours isn't the only one that someone is looking at and deciding to work with you or not. But the real reason that your website matters so much, if you think about your website sort of in the middle of a circle, your website, hopefully, it's beautiful and professional and doing everything it should be. All of your marketing is driving back here. Your networking conversations, hopefully your SEO and Google, social media, conversations you're having with other clinicians, conversations your clients are having with their friends where they mention you. Everything is leading back to your website. If this isn't doing its job, none of this can either. None of this is going to be as effective as it can be because it's driving back to your website. The goal of your website is to get that person over the finish line, right? So maybe someone heard about you on Google or heard about you on Psychology Today. If they visit your website and your website doesn't pull its weight, then we'll lose them. And all of a sudden the effort you put into that social media post or that Psychology Today listing or whatever doesn't end up actually turning into a client. So hopefully that makes sense. And of course, if you're live or if you're catching the replay and you have a question on that, please do drop that into the comments because I want to make sure we're all really clear on why this matters so much. Why do we talk about this so much? Because it is the foundation of your marketing. It is your virtual front door. And it is the thing that will make all the rest of your marketing efforts more successful and more effective. So As long as we're all clear on that, let's go ahead and get into the 2 reasons your website isn't working. Now, it's rare that I make kind of these like blanket statements. Sometimes I'll offer like 2 reasons why your website might not be working. Here, like I am going to go ahead and like put my foot in the ground and say these are the 2 reasons. Number one, if you are not currently getting clients from your website, it's because you don't have people landing there. Now, that sounds like really simple, but very often I will sit down with clinicians and they don't have a sense of how often people are landing on their website. And sometimes that's the number one thing that they need to be addressing. You can have a beautiful, beautiful, professional, amazing website, but if no one knows it's there, if no one's visiting it, what's it going to do for you? So unfortunately, your website is not like a build it and it will come kind of thing. It's not a field of dreams. Like, we have to create it and then we have to get people there. It's one thing to create a beautiful website. It's another to get people there. And so that could very well be one of your issues right now. You may have spent hours, weeks, months on your website and feel like it's really strong. But if people aren't getting there, then how can we expect it to do its job? I get asked a lot. One of the biggest questions I get asked is like, how much traffic do I need to my website? And that number, it really varies wildly. As I prepared for today's training, I actually went and looked at the analytics of some clients of mine who have full private pay practices, and the number ranges. So it's not so much like, yeah, shoot for this, number of people. As long as you have this much traffic to your website, you'll be okay. I saw everyone from low 200s per month, so 200 visitors per month or views, up to like 1,000 sessions. So it can really, 1,000 sessions meaning 1,000 unique people visiting their website in a month. So it can vary, but the fact is they're getting the right people to their website. So if you created your website and then you just expected calls to start coming, like we've missed something here. We have to get people there. Now, one of the strategies we talk about a ton here in the group is SEO, because I want you to get clients for free from Google. But it is so important that your expectations around SEO be appropriate, because otherwise you're just going to be really, really disappointed. SEO is very important. It's something I'm going to recommend you invest in sooner rather than later. But SEO is a long-term strategy. We are talking 6, 9, 12 plus months to see meaningful traction there. And so you can build a beautiful, effective, SEO optimized, Google friendly website, but you're not going to start seeing that traction via Google for quite a while. So what do we do sort of, especially in that initial time before we start to see the kind of the Google momentum build? You have to be talking about your practice. You have to be talking about your practice. Of course, one of the best ways to do this is via networking. Lean into your personal network. There are people in your personal network that know your ideal client, that are running into your ideal client, that want to like cheer you on and refer to you. There are people, other clinicians that you know in your network already that you can be connecting to and telling them about. You have to be getting visible. And I hear from a lot of clinicians, especially those that identify as introverts, that like, I hate networking. Networking feels icky. There is a way to network. There is a way to share about your practice that doesn't require you cold calling, doctors' offices, and doesn't require you just like cold emailing even other clinicians. Join Facebook groups that are relevant to your niche, that are in your area. Respond to inquiries for referrals. Share your website, but please talk about your website and talk about your practice. People need to know that you're doing this in order to get people there, right? That's the one of the first problems here that you could be experiencing, is that we just don't have enough eyes on your website. At some point, it does become a numbers game. Like, we have to have people landing there in order to actually get clients from it, right? Another thing that you can really be thinking about is Google My Business. That is a wonderful, wonderful resource when it comes to local SEO and local marketing, something that can boost your SEO, which we talked about is a long-term strategy, but also something that can be showing up a lot sooner. If people look for Anxiety Therapy Nashville and you have a well-optimized Google My Business profile, we very well, may get you showing up in those results related to Maps, Google Maps, which is what Google My Business is associated with. So get people to your website. That might be, not to spoil it, but that's the easiest issue here, is maybe we just need more eyes on your website. That could be one of our issues here. So it's not, unfortunately, a build it and you will come, they will come kind of situation. definitely get that SEO ball rolling sooner rather than later, but then be thinking about how else can I make sure that people are getting to my website. Your Psychology Today profile hopefully has your website linked. Your Psychology Today profile, every profile I've ever written, I've written over 100 of them and coached clinicians, hundreds of clinicians on how to write theirs. Every single one ends the profile with a call to action: visit my website to schedule a free consultation. Let's remind them what to do, and we want them on your website. As long as your website is doing its job, we want them there. So let's direct them there. All of your marketing should be driving here. It is driving here, sort of whether you know it or not, but you need to be investing in all of these things, if we think about that circle graphic again, to get people to your website. So that's the first thing. You don't have adequate traffic. That is the first problem. And like I said, it's kind of the simplest one. So perhaps that is a place where you can be investing your time and effort. Now the second problem, this one's a little bit more kind of intangible and something we kind of need to wrestle with, is that your website isn't forming the connection that your client needs in order to reach out to you. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of your ideal client for a moment. If they are seeking out a therapist, it's because they've reached a level of distress or discomfort or overwhelm that they're ready to do something about it, right? They are at a point, they're a very motivated person. That's kind of one of the nice things about marketing therapy, is that like we don't have to do a lot of warming up. Like if they're there, most often they're ready to start taking some action. If they are landing on your website and they're not being compelled to continue taking action, then that is where this drop-off might be happening. And this is where it can be so frustrating. If you're someone who is investing in all of these things, right? You're getting traffic, you're talking about your practice, people are landing there, but they're dropping off on the site itself. That can be so frustrating because, well, I've done everything that I know to do. So let's kind of talk through some of the biggest sort of connection breakers or inhibitors when it comes to your website. If someone who is motivated and ready to find a therapist lands on your website and doesn't understand what it is that you specialize in, and therefore does not view you as the expert that they're looking for, we'll lose them. Remember, I shared that statistic earlier, 5 to 7 different therapy websites that people are looking at in order to make a decision. So if someone is experiencing grief and you're not talking about grief, but one of those other 5 to 7 is, what do you think is going to stand out more? Or if your client is a helping professional who is burnt out in their role and really needs someone that's going to understand that, hopefully your website is talking about that if they're the right client for you. If you aren't clearly stating your niche and your areas of specialty, how can you understand your client to understand them? Right? How can you expect your client to understand them? You have to talk about what it is that you specialize in. And maybe, again, this is something that like I coach a lot of clinicians in, but maybe it's that you don't specialize in a certain problem. Maybe it's not grief. Maybe it is helping professionals. Maybe it is a certain environment that you create or a certain approach, but we have to talk about what it is you can be known for. What sets you apart from those other 5 to 7 websites? If you're not clearly communicating that, you're just expecting them to know, or maybe you yourself don't know, that's asking too much of your client and you will lose them. So that's the first thing, and often the most common, that they're not viewing you as the expert that you are. Because this isn't a question of whether or not you have expertise, and I will fight you on that, because I believe you have expertise that your client is needing, but you're not communicating it. And so if they can't see that and they're not connecting to that, then they will choose another clinician in favor, or rather than you, who does do a better job of articulating that and connecting to what they're looking for and needing. Another thing that can be a common connection breaker is that you're talking too much about yourself. Your website is way more about you and more of a billboard for you and your experience than it is for your client. Again, revisiting, like putting ourselves again in the shoes of your ideal client. Like they're motivated and they're in a level of distress and discomfort where that's all that they're thinking about. What's the easiest way to connect with them? To empathize. To say, hey, I see you, you're welcome here, right? They're not choosing clinicians based on how much experience they have or their modality or where they went to school. They're choosing clinicians based on, does this person understand me? Are they showing me that they understand me? And so oftentimes if I land on a website where there's just the word I a lot, and or maybe it's talking about the clinician in third person. Anna Walker is an anxiety therapist in Nashville. Like, this isn't forming connection, right? And so if you're talking too much about yourself, you very well may be doing that at the expense of clients actually choosing to work with you. Your website should be so client friendly that you almost wonder, like, where do I talk about myself? Because I'm just talking about my clients so often. Those are the most effective websites that I have created for clients, that I've helped clients create for themselves, are the ones that are client centric. Your website is not about you. And if you've made it about you, if it feels tempting to talk a lot about your experience, because I know you have a lot of it, or it feels tempting or weird to have have a conversation on your website, I want to really encourage you to kind of maybe check in with yourself on why that feels so uncomfortable, and then revisit how you might start talking about the work that you do in a way that feels focused first on the client and then on you. You are secondary. You are you're the guide on the website, not the hero, as Donald Miller would say. Another connection breaker, and this is a common one that I see, again, if you pull up your website right now and you're worried that your struggle is that you're not making connection, is you're not saying enough. You're not saying enough on your website. Sometimes I'll land on a website and I'll go to scroll and it doesn't scroll. It's just that. If you aren't saying enough on your website, you're not leveraging the opportunity you have. Like, you have a captive audience. You have someone who's on your website looking for your services. And if you aren't saying enough because you want a simple website, or you don't want it to be busy, or you don't want it to be boring, you're actually losing out on an ability to display your level of understanding and display your level of expertise in what they are experiencing. Something I tell my students is people will read long copy. So they will read long websites. People, like, behavior shows us that. They just won't read boring copy. So they'll read it if it's long. They just won't read it if it's boring. So you need to be compelling, and there's definitely a way to do that. And there's some great trainings here in the group on how to do that. But please say enough on your website. If it is just your name, your logo, your phone number, hopefully it's more than that. But even just like a single page website, there's more work that needs to be done on your website. So sometimes it's a matter of not saying enough. You're not forming a deep enough connection for them to realize that you're the clinician that they're looking for. And then the fourth kind of common connection breaker, and this is after reviewing hundreds of different therapy websites and seeing what works, is you're not clearly communicating what to do next. You know the therapeutic process. Yes, they reach out to me for a consultation, and then we have an intake, and then we get to know each other, and then we get into the work. It is unfair to assume that they know that as well. And so sometimes you end up making assumptions in your marketing, and you skip over really important information. And so if someone lands on your website, again, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of your ideal client. They are at a level of distress or discomfort or overwhelm, or they're ready to do something about it. But you know what? Going to therapy is kind of intimidating. Sometimes a little bit scary. Sometimes I have questions about it. What eases my fears the most is if someone acknowledges that. It says, hey, I know that therapy can be intimidating. Here's exactly what you can expect from this process. Here's the first step to take. Just reach out for a consultation. We'll decide if we're a good fit. If we're not, that's okay. I can refer you out to another talented clinician in my network. And if we are, great, we'll go ahead and get to work. If you're making assumptions in your marketing where they should know that they schedule a free consult and then we do this, or they should know what a consult even consists of, or they should know that they need to push this button that says get started in order to reach out to me, then you could be missing out on them just because of that, because you're not making this process feel easy and eliminating some of that intimidation that someone may have about the therapeutic process, especially if your client is someone who either hasn't been to therapy before or has been to therapy and maybe hasn't had a great experience before. How can we improve that experience? By simplifying it. So sometimes that's the issue, is that you're not clearly communicating the process and what they can expect next. You will notice that all of those connection breakers I just talked about, they're focused on your words. They're focused on the words you use on your website. The number one driver of whether or not someone decides to reach out to you is not the quality of your headshots. It's not how beautiful your logo is. It's not the name of your practice. It is your words. So if your words aren't up to par, we're going to really struggle to form that connection. I will note, though, we talk about website design here in this group because it's also an important piece, that sometimes a lack of professional design can also be diminishing trust. Studies show us that website design builds credibility, automatically establishes credibility, helps someone decide if you're legitimate or not. And so sometimes it is partially a matter of words, but also a matter of how those words are presented on the website and whether or not it is clean and modern and professional and easy to read and that kind of thing. So that's certainly something to keep in mind. But the main driver of forming connection on your website is related to the words that you are or are not using. So that second problem is that it's not forming connection. If you're sitting here right now and you have a website, and I'm sure you worked really hard on it, and I'm sure there's some really great pieces of it, but you're not getting the clients that you want from it, it's going to boil down to one or two of these challenges. Number one is you don't have adequate traffic. You're not investing in the other marketing activities that are getting people to your website. Or that once people are landing there, it's not forming the level of connection that your client needs in order to reach out to you. It boils down to one or two of those things. And I can say that with confidence after reviewing hundreds of these and coaching clinicians and seeing what works and what doesn't. So what do we do about it, right? What do we do about this? Well, we think about what we can be doing to get people to your website. In order to solve that first problem is what else can I be doing to help people become aware of my practice? If you haven't shared your practice with your personal network, if you haven't joined local Facebook groups, if you haven't gotten back in touch with the other clinicians around you that you met at a networking event, that is low-hanging fruit when it comes to getting people aware of you and over to your website. Hopefully you're making use of Psychology Today and other directories. That's another great way to be sending people to you after they get to know you a little bit on that directory, but they want to know you more. Get them over to your website, like finish that, kind of close that deal and continue that process. If it's an issue of not forming connection, then we need to be looking at those words. That is the most important thing. This is exactly what we do inside of Confident Copy, which is my marketing mentorship. It's a 10-week program. I help you articulate what it is that your niche is. What are you an expert in? What do you want to be known for? How do we make sure what we're doing is Google friendly? And then I walk you section by section through what to put on your homepage, what to put on your about page, your specialty pages, in order to form that connection with that motivated, insightful client that you want to be working with. Confident Copy is open all year round. It's something you can jump into at any time. We had a couple folks just join in the last couple of days. If you're interested in kind of talking about if this is right for you, I offer a free, no obligation fit session where you can schedule 20 minutes with me and we can sit down and talk about your practice. We can talk about your goals. We can talk about what's going on your website, and maybe even take a look at it together to determine if Confident Copy is going to be able to get you where you want to go. But inside of that program, we focus on marketing to attract private pay clients using your website, using your words. And it's a process that I've seen work time and time again with my clients. If you're interested in scheduling that fit session, you can go to walkerstrategyco.com/fit, FIT. It'll take you right to that booking page and you can select a time for us to sit down and chat. Like I said, no obligation, but a great opportunity for us to decide if this is the right next step for you in order to take care of both of these problems. Starting with problem number 2, making sure your website is forming connection, and then talking about, okay, what else needs to be happening for me to be getting people here? So, William Schultz, I wrote a book and it was positively reviewed by 2 professors from Harvard. How many times have clients told me that is why they chose me? 0. More than half of my new clients told me they chose me because I disclosed that I suffered from OCD and they believed that would help me understand them. William is a shining example, right, of thinking about what matters to my client. William, you are an inspiration to all of us. And I'm glad you shared that story. And Craig said, yes, get SEO done ASAP to start the ball rolling. Absolutely. Please don't hear from me that SEO is not the right move. Hopefully you're hearing that it's worthwhile to make that investment, but it is an investment long term. And so between now and then, when you start to see that Google momentum pick up, you still have to be getting people to your website. You still have to be thinking about marketing. So those are some really good things to be keeping in mind. Now, I'm not seeing any other questions, which is great. Hopefully that means that this made a lot of sense to you and that you're feeling really good about thinking about your website. Like I said, my goal is that you're walking away from this being like, you know what, maybe this is where I need to be looking, or at least thinking about if my website isn't getting the results that I want from it. I want to see every single client, every single clinician in this group. I want to see you get clients from your website. And I'm telling you that it is possible. It absolutely is possible. And if we can take care of these two issues, you will start to see clients come in on autopilot. And there's nothing better than being busy doing something else. Maybe you're in session, maybe you're off, maybe you're taking time off. Maybe you're taking your kid to daycare, dropping your kid off at daycare and getting a client inquiry. Knowing that your marketing is working even without you hands-on all the time. That's what a good website can do for you. And I hope you're feeling really inspired. Hope, what were the words you used again about the initial consult and possibly referring out? Hope, I often do this. I'll write copy on the fly on a video and then have to go back. I think I said something like, reach out for an initial consultation. I'll answer your questions. You can decide if I'm the right therapist for you. If I'm not, perfectly okay. I'll refer you to another talented clinician in my network. And if we are, then we'll go ahead and get started. Something like that, where you remove all intimidation, all obligation someone may feel about a consultation. Hey, this is just an opportunity to get your questions answered. I want to see you get the best care possible. And if that means referring out, I'm happy to do that. And if that means that we're the right fit, then let's go ahead and dive in. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope, thanks for joining me. Friends, I hope this has been useful for you. Whether you have caught me live or you're catching the replay, please know that I'm cheering for you, that I want to see you successful in your marketing, in your website, in your private pay practice, and we are here to cheer you on. So have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.